taking on the job of last resort. There's a reason for that. It's the temporary foreign workers in this country that are snatching the jobs from our young people. And this is from the Toronto Sun by way of the Canadian Press. Almost half of Canadians want the temporary foreign worker program gone. A new poll suggests 44% of Canadians want to see the temporary foreign worker program scrapped. I think that number is actually quite low,
Yes.
because I think a lot of people confuse the temporary foreign worker program with just immigrants. And
Right.
so they're cautious to say we want, that program scrapped, because I think they're confusing the two. If you say these are unskilled laborers from the third world or
Mhm.
developing countries coming to Canada and displacing young Canadian workers in entry-level jobs, do you think that program should continue? I think the majority of people in this country would say no.
Yes, agreed. It's all in the way that the question was poised. Like it's
Yeah.
all in the way that they framed the question. But if we're considering that the temporary foreign worker program is but one arm of the many, many, many arms that
Yes.
people can use to access the country. I think that the vast majority of Canadians want to take a hard look at the entire
Right.
thing.
Right.
That this is
By the
and
way, hang on before you go on. If
yeah,
you are watching right now and you are an immigration lawyer, expert, whatever, please reach out to me, Sheila at rebelnews.com. I would love to talk to someone who can explain these different
programs,
path and
pathways.
pathways into the country, because I know that there is a temporary foreign worker program that is outside of the traditional temporary foreign worker program, and you can get a work permit as a temporary foreign worker without
Yeah,
even going through this this pathway.
yeah.
And I want to know how that happens, why the heck it's happening, and why we're allowing any of that. So if you're somebody, it's Sheila at rebelnews.com. I don't send me your anecdotal stories, guys. I get them all the time. And I know them. I see them. I go on the LMIA website also. But if you are
Mhm.
somebody with a background in immigration, if you're an immigration consultant and not one of the bad guys, if you're an immigration lawyer, do reach out to me. Immigration researcher, reach out to me and let me know.
Just you saying that and having this conversation reminded me of a time in radio when I was working on radio. So for anybody that doesn't know, I spent 10 years on conservative talk radio here in Saskatchewan. And it started, so when we started talking or hearing about migration patterns through the world, it was Syria through Turkey, through Greece. Then it infiltrated all the way up the coastline into England. And I remember saying on the radio, well, but we're so lucky here in Canada because we have a whole ocean between us and these migrant people, without considering that our evil federal government would load up airplanes and ship them here by the millions. Canada
Right.
has seen an increase in population. I think it was like 35%. Did I read 30? An
Yeah.
increase
And
of
it's
30.
it's not by way of people like you having a whole gaggle of kids.
That's right. No, no, these are full plane loads of people actively through COVID arriving in Canada and displacing all parts of our society, like disrupting all parts of our society. And I remember, yeah, I just remember thinking, well, aren't we lucky to be all the way across the ocean? Nobody's going to arrive on our shores in a little rowboat. Nobody's going to stumble over the border from the United States claiming asylum. I mean, you
Oh,
got to go to the United States
my
only
favorite
to
part,
see.
sorry to interrupt. My favorite part during
Yeah.
COVID was we knew the coronavirus, COVID-19. We knew that it was coming from China, and they never ever really stopped the flights from China. They just put signs up in Chinese at Pearson saying, wash your hands and wear a mask. And I'm like, why don't
Right.
you just stop those people from coming instead of locking us up? But no,
Yeah.
that
And I
would have been
saw
racist.
I saw something yesterday that temporary foreign workers or asylum seekers or refugees, I'm not sure what the title was, but the people that came into Canada during those dark days of COVID, when all of us were locked down, when none of us could even go for lunch with friends, when our kids were kicked out of school, when the entire world was falling apart, that we were importing people from across the world that were not vaccine compliant.
No.
It's just wild. Like, it's like they needed to get us all to stay home and be isolated while they did this thing in the background.
Yeah.
And so now we're all real aware of just exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I remember, Alexa reporting from the border in Quebec,
Hmm.
and, we got I think it was access documents. They didn't even check for, these, illegal migrants' vaccination status. They're
Right.
just like, "Get in here," and it's like, "But they check my vaccine status before I can order a draft at the bar." Like,
Yes.
what are you doing?
Yeah,
Um,
what a wild time to be alive. Like, just what a wild time. Like, never forget.
and then
Never
yeah,
forget Canada. That's what they did to us.
yeah, and I've kept saying, "Oh, it's not about health," because obviously they're not doing the things that if
Yes.
you it was as bad as they say it is, they would be doing these things here. They
Yeah.
just seem to be doing all these things to us.
Yes.
But I was a crazy person at the time.
Not
Um,
wild the way that all panned out anyway.
on the topic of a stopped clock being right twice a day, David Eby, in BC, the NDP premier there, in a rare moment where the NDP goes back to their working people's roots, he says the temporary foreign worker program is failing to prevent abuse and exploitation. Oh, I spoke too soon. I thought he was concerned about British Columbian workers.
Yeah.
Seems like he's only concerned about the temporary foreign workers, and look, I am too. But you can't be exploited in Canada if you aren't here.
Right.
So I think that's probably what's best. But he's looking out solely for the temporary foreign workers and not the British Columbians. I think. Let's watch.
But when I see that the Wall Center Starbucks is getting an LMIA, or trying to, for a manager, or that the Richmond Boston Pizza is trying to get an LMIA for a manager of their restaurant, I don't believe that they can't find a British Columbian on their team to promote to manager. I don't believe it. And so when young people look at this and they see that and they screen cap it and they put it on social media and they say, this program's not working, I'm searching for a job, I can't find it. Why don't you train me to be a manager? It's a corrosive and problematic thing. We need confidence in our immigration system. We need an immigration system that protects workers in this province from exploitation, that ensures that no matter where you're from, that you're safe at work, you're paid a decent wage, and you're looked after. We need an immigration system that ensures that predatory employers are not able to use the temporary foreign worker program to depress wages or to deny opportunities to other workers that would insist on their rights, that have the opportunity to go somewhere else. But most importantly, we need an immigration system that can give hope to people, whether they're new arrivals or not, especially young people, that they can build a good life here, they can have a good home here, they can build a family here, because that's what's built this province over generations, and that is what will continue to build this beautiful province we live in.
But there's just a whole bunch of mixed messages there. Um, he's not necessarily wrong on any of those points, but uh, the whole point of people's objections to the temporary foreign worker program, first and foremost, are that these jobs are not going to young Canadians. They are
Right.
going to people from other countries. Um, Secondarily, we don't want to see temporary foreign workers exploited. Um, and I don't really think he quite understands the issue in its entirety.
No, because David Eby exists in a bubble, right?
Right.
He exists in such a tight elite bubble that he does not see the things that are actually happening right in his own backyard. I know I've told this story before in this program, but it bears repeating, special just for David Eby. About a year ago, we were in British Columbia, in Victoria, where a province that was welcoming 10,000 people a month at the time. Okay, 10,000. British Columbia was absorbing 10,000 newcomers every single month. So, what that did was push all of the vulnerable people already in British Columbia out of their housing. We had an experience with a very old woman, I would say she was in her like 70s, mid 70s, who was recently made homeless within 5 blocks of David Eby's workplace at the legislature in Victoria. And he didn't see how immigration was impacting the people of BC. Not only are they ignoring our young people and their ability to gain entry into a career path, but they are also decimating our old people who cannot afford the prohibitive prices of BC housing and
Right.
cost of living.
Right.
So
And
they're like the embracer of like David Eby embracing this, embracing the worker. Well, no, David Eby, you've already decimated your young and old people.
right.
So who are you working for? The people of British Columbia or the immigrants? Like pick one. It can't be both.
Well, and you still got to put the temporary foreign workers somewhere. They need to
Sure.
be housed. So when you look around British Columbia and you're like, "Oh my goodness, how does anybody afford to live here and do anything else?" Like I feel
Oh
like you just
yeah.
worked for your housing there and there's no idea of like owning a car, or even dreaming of taking a week off work so you could go do nothing somewhere. Um it, that that is all part of the same spectrum of issues
Sure.
around immigration and temporary foreign workers, whatever, and he's just sort of missing it.
All
Um,
of the points. All of the
he
points. Like David
yeah.
Eby, tone deaf. Helen Keller level tone deaf.